Pezza, I'm thinking about captains in my lifetime because Pat Cummins has won the game for Australia with a 10-wicket haul, a 10-wicket bag. And I'm just thinking, like, Alan Border, like what you wouldn't give for Captain Grumpy to just nestle in there with that moustache and just look you right in the eyes and call you a big old prick. You know, Steve Waugh, come on, let's go down to the 7-Eleven and get some cheap petrol and also some BP sunglasses. You know, like, come on, let's fucking do it. Mark Taylor, what I wouldn't give to be a piece of gum in Mark Taylor's mouth. Ricky Ponting, wrap those hairy forearms around me. You know what I'm saying? Michael Clark, let's go on a holiday to Noosa. Pat Cummins is going so well, he may well solve the housing crisis in Australia. That's how well he's going. He busts the game open today. When Pakistan nearly did something, Pakistan probably should have won this test match. Pat Cummins wins the test match for Australia. Australia win the game by 79 runs, defending their 318 runs for victory, something like that, by bowling Pakistan out for 237. Cummins 10 for. Is he the man that makes you the happiest in your entire life, Sam Perry, apart from me?
Thanks. Thanks for putting that caveat in. What do you say? Like, I mean, this game was like it was an autist's dream. I know a lot of cricket games are, but you're talking about a really good game of cricket. Like that, we've been joking about, you know, walking in and out of rooms like Pac-Man or Lemmings. But this game had a great vibe, like all the way through. And Pakistan ran Australia close, and just again, like just couldn't maintain pressure, you know, for long periods of time. But Pat Cummins basically dragged his team over the line with some help from Mitch Marsh and a couple of other guys. I mean, in the process, he's ended up with 10 cricket wickets. Like Cummins 10 for Boxing Day man of the match. You know, like Cummins 10 Boxing Day man of the match. Johnny Muller medal, goes past 250 test wickets. And yet with Cummins, it's like, it's not even for the best thing about Cummins for me, it's not even the what, it's the when. Like this game, more than any other game I can remember, it was like, the game's drifting a little bit, I'll take the ball and I'll change it again. It's like when Cummins was out of the game, Pakistan had Australia's measure. And then it was like, oh, Cummins is coming back into the attack to ensure that they're not actually getting any close to us. And how many times has he done it this year where he's like, all right, I guess I'm going to have to do this. And then he does it like every single time. So you're talking about force of will. You know, he's now entering, like, as he goes past these milestones as this kind of project player into like rapid man, love his early, you know, rock and roll albums, bowling 150s. You know, now just like a captain that's attaining these milestones. He's now getting into like presence, like his presence phase, where just him taking the ball, you know, like affecting a bowling change, knocking out one of his mates so that he can have the ball and change the game, is gonna create a change because he's Pat Cummins. You know, he's just got that presidential presence to him, and I love the new album. But I got to say, like, it's a beautiful thing.
It's like the end of Warne. When I say the end of Warne's like career, like I probably mean the last like 6 years where like he had no shoulder left, and so he couldn't bowl a wrong, and there was no flipper, and so he basically had a slider and just being able to talk blokes out like that, like that. It was just presence, you know, like fuck.
Bring
Warne's
the umpire into it. This is how I'm going to get him out.
Exactly.
So the umpire's part of the routine now.
And like you just feel like when Cummins is on, like the batter's just like, fuck, Cummins is on. I forgot he played. That's annoying. This was a great game of cricket, and much less so a grade game of cricket because it was actually a test match.
Thank you.
But like this game it was a great deck. Had something in it for everyone. Runs were able to be scored. Marsh obviously makes a 90, and there was a couple of 50s in the game. something in it for the bowlers. I suppose less so in it for Lyon. Though I feel like Lyon might just be a little bit. He might be struggling a little bit, perhaps. I'm not really sure what that's about. And Pakistan didn't really go in with a spinner. So, but it also had Richard Illingworth having a glass of milk in a lift and getting stuck with Mel McLaughlin.
Yeah.
There was that as well. There was probably some other stuff going on, but it was just like anytime a game in a test match finishes with a team winning by less than 100 runs, that's a fucking great game of cricket. And like Cummins now has won several close games of cricket, probably through either his own sheer performance or captaincy. Like I think he was excellent in this game captaincy-wise. He was excellent at Lords, I think, as well, winning that game. And also he was extremely pivotal and indeed vital, which is just a synonym, winning the game at Edgbaston, where he put the 8th wicket, 9th wicket partnership with Lyon there to win that game. So whilst he hasn't done it every single time, but it's his captaincy now seems to be getting better and better. I'm really happy to suck off Pat Cummins. It seems to annoy the right kind of people as well, which makes me happy. Absolute whoppers in the comments as per usual, when you sort of celebrate the team. But it's like this is Whilst people in Australia feel like this is a low-key summer, Pakistan, West Indies. Pakistan, I think, should have won this game. And I want to ask you in a second if you think Pakistan lost it or Australia won it. Maybe it's a combination of the two. But like these guys, these are our cricket heroes, and these guys exist on television for most of the country because they play so much cricket overseas. But this is the time we get to see them, and to win a game like this, man, I've just really enjoyed it. I guess is my point. I guess my point is I've really enjoyed the game of cricket.
Yeah, and a game of cricket
so
was
Interpol's on its way.
I am very surprised at what you've revealed there. Which is that a game of cricket was played in Australia and it was enjoyed on a slightly earnest level. Fuck me. That is a problem. But we're into like superlative territory for Cummins, and ably supported by a couple of guys around him. Shout out to Alex Carey. Breezy 50 today. He'd become a story because everyone else is going pretty well. So it's just like, let's move on to the next coat. Is there a problem here? Is there some new trappings we could be looking at? What's occurred post Bairstow? He looked great. So that's really good. I just think they're gonna rue those drop catches. They're Pakistan. That just hurt. And I was going to say, I think they're really going to rue that first innings as well. I think that's getting a little bit lost in the narrative. I just don't think that was a 320 pitch for Australia. They really let Australia get away there with some ordinary bowling and ordinary fielding when they had some brilliant conditions throughout the game. So, I think there'll be regret there. Happy to talk more about Pakistan losing, Australia winning and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So just thinking on that, like obviously Abdullah Shafiq's catch where he puts his head in his hands, garnering so much sympathy because we've all been there. But the moment he fucking cups his face in his digits, I was just like, oh man, I feel for you there. It's still funny, but I really do feel for you there. But in many ways, like the catch where he'd put down Warner off the second over or the first over, was it? Maybe Shaheen's second over might have been early on there, and then Warner and Khawaja then going to put on nearly 100. That in itself is almost the entire game. Now, like Marnus could come in, Smith could come in, and they could score wonderful hundreds. Those things could also have happened, but it just does seem like, they won the toss and they bowled, and you drop a catch like that, and then the opening partnership for the opposition puts on that kind of stand. They very nearly lost the game there, coupled with 52 extras in the first innings. Australia really had no right to win the game. Like Australia at no point played badly, so it's not like Australia should have deserved to lose the game based on their own performances, but Pakistan had so many opportunities to get themselves ahead in the game, and that's I think chasing 300 in this decade would have been really, really tough work. I think there was a stat going around about no team had done it in at the MCG since 19 insert year here, chasing over 300. So it's historically very difficult, but mate, I think Pakistan has lost the game.
Really?
I think that's the truth. And I think Australia are just a good team, so they will punish you for your mistakes.
Yeah, and I suppose to extend on that, I'd just ask, why did they manage? Why did they lose it? and I think that there's probably a belief like issue within them, winning in Australia. They've lost 15 in a row now or something, right? And over probably even more years.
16 it might be.
16 now, yeah. So 15 in a row as they're trying to negotiate this win. And I guess when I feel like every time they got themselves into the match, they either got themselves out of it, or Australia did something. And I think when you see that pattern happen in sport as a whole or generally, it starts to reveal what both sides actually think about who is better. Because I just feel like Pakistan did that several times in this game. And I reckon that would be because they probably didn't ultimately believe they could do it. I mean, what the fuck would I know, obviously, but I just felt like that was a pattern. So yeah, maybe they did lose it, but I guess when you go, if Shafiq doesn't drop the first catch and or drop Marsh or whatever, if he takes Marsh, then what happens there? Of course, nobody knows, but I still think in some way, someone in Australia, some other player would have done something, because that's just the way the game is. Or Pakistan would have found another way to fuck it up, a different way, because it just keeps coming. And every time they conspired to put on a partnership today, it broke, just as the scales were truly tipping in Pakistan's favour. And yeah, so I still feel like there's while they got close in numbers at times, they started the game behind and they never really caught up, and when it was 4 for 16, and the Tamasha was running, that was really hot stuff. That drop catch was really painful, I got to say. But then they gave Australia a chance to right the wrong or correct the course, and they did. And I feel like Pakistan, as beautiful as they are to watch and as great as they are, I just love Pakistan cricket so much. I do think they were part of that. They were part of that narrative of like, oh, we're not actually doing this, are we? Maybe Ash.
It's one of the great ones where you're getting a few texts from some concerned relatives about your whereabouts, but also just like, are Pakistan going to do this? Like, people are getting scared that they're turning to text messages. And I want to talk about the moment in a second where Rizwan is dismissed. But before then, Pezza, Smith Optics Australia are supporting TGC for these dailies throughout the Australian summer. Another Sydney Test match to go. And then, of course, Adelaide and Brisbane for the West Indies. Smith Optics Australia getting behind TGC. We're talking about the field range at smitopticsaustralia.com. Use the code FAST for 25% off. You only have to pay 3/4 of the price if you support TGC by using the code FAST at smitopticsaustralia.com. Pezza, what I want to know is, you've driven from Sydney to Melbourne today. I want to know if you had the Verts on. I want to know if you had the Verts Smiths on, and were you cutting around? Were you listening to Triple J? Were you reliving your youth? Were you celebrating every wicket today when Hazelwood bowled Babar Azam? Were you cutting around in the Smith Optics?
Yeah, people might have detected some fatigue in my voice, and it's because I've just driven 10 hours interstate, 1,000 kilometres or some shit like that. And yeah, I mean, first things first is like it's summer in Australia, so the sky is generally a brilliant blue. The sun is harsh, and yeah, I had the Verts wrapped around the old American pies the entire time. There's no peripheral, you're like Emmett Brown, in Back to the Future 2, like futuristic shit. Which I think is coming up in a couple of years, maybe 2 years' time, 2025, is that where they go, or 2030? I can't remember anyway. And the dog's still very excited. I'm home, by the way, if anyone can hear that. And so is the washing machine as well, which is on. So yeah, I had the Verts going. Now, look, I listened to the cricket for the majority of the day, but I have to be honest, like, that does cause me to want to fall asleep, which you generally don't want to do on the road. So I did have to turn to music on occasion, but I wish I could say something cooler than this, but I just went to show tunes, to get me going. So I'm talking. The thing is, this isn't a joke. Because what happened was I was I was doing the old school thing where I was losing coverage of the station that I wanted to listen to. So then I had to start going through the manual dial on the AM to get to different stations and see what the regional station was to catch the ABC coverage. For giving myself away there, and it stopped on Summer Nights from Greece. Obviously, John Travolta, Olivia Newton-John. I'm like, oh, now we're talking. And so obviously I fucked that off because the actual reception wasn't very good. Jump on the old Spotify there, and I went through about 4 or 5 numbers from Greece, pretending I'm doing karaoke. Like, just thinking how funny it would be doing karaoke, but doing like Sandy's role. So a lot of Hopelessly Devoted to You, full falsetto. And like imagining I'm holding books and shit, like up against the lockers. Next thing you know, you're Rizzo. There are worse things I could do. But then you start to get into the bangers. You start to get into Hand Jive. You start to get into Grease Lightning, of course. But then the big one is the character of Vince Fontaine, who plays a ghost singing Beauty School Dropout. Your story's sad to tell. So I did a couple of things like that to get me going in the verts, and then back to the cricket. Is Jim Maxwell warbling on about God knows what with Sarfraz, and I mean Stuart Clark, Sarf.
I think I'd really get it. You know, like when your Premier League club that you support is in the running to sign some Turkish league's winger that you've never heard of before, and you look at his highlights on YouTube, and it's always set to like EDM.
Yeah.
Now, if that was set to like a couple of bangers from Annie or Oliver Twist,
now we're talking.
as he's put one top bins, then then maybe I could invest in that.
There are worse things I could do. Such a great song.
Chalk on your boots.
Good touch for a big man.
Anyway, okay, let's talk about that. Anyway, that's Smith Optics Australia getting behind TGC, and we thank them. And you should
great for a
well.
drive.
Use the code
Great
FAST.
for a drive.
Oh, anyway. Okay, the moment that busts the 4th innings opened, and indeed the test match, the run chase open, there was a great partnership between Rizwan and Sarfraz. So it might have been about 65 or 70 runs. They got the lead. They got the runs to win to under 100. Cummins comes back on. 30 minutes left in the day. He fucking gets it into the deck.
Yeah, smashes the
Rizwan
deck.
sort of ducks.
He bashes
a little
the
bit.
deck.
He bashes it.
He bashes it into the deck.
And Rizwan sort of does his best to evade it, and it sort of sneaks in between hands clasped together, and it just seems to nick his wristband. Given not out on the field by Goffey, who was really in favour of not giving anything out in this entire test match. A lot of umpires' calls. He's one of the best umpires going around. And then just there seems to be some controversy around it. For me personally, look, obviously I'm biased, and I actually bleed green and gold, Pezza, which is a diabetes issue. Anyway, for me, I'm seeing a hot spot on his wristband. I'm seeing a spike on his wristband, and I'm seeing with my own eyes the ball being on his wristband, and he's unlucky. And there's also a mark on his forearm, so I think both things can be true. They're also hit your wristband and also your forearm. And I'm just hearing Usman Khawaja, I'm pretty sure it was, going straight off the wristband, champ. And I'm like, this is my summer. This is it. So for me, Pezza, look, I'm seeing enough things where it's like, yeah, there's enough to overturn that. I think it's probably out. I'm good to go with it. But do you want to take some sort of contrarian view, or are you happy to live your life?
I'm interested to hear. That's news to me that Khawaja was sledging Rizwan. Very, very interesting, sort of politically and humanitarian, Lee. But or not at all. Yeah, so I was listening on the radio. No pictures. I did watch it later, and the guys on the radio, so SEN guys. It was Colo, another great Dave
Kadich
from Colo. Yeah, Kadich and Rogers, and they actually expressed a good deal of reservation about and lack of certitude about what it had hit. And I suspect there was some level of keenness to see Rizwan stay in and the game get closer. But they seem to say, like, if anybody, I think one of the lines was like if anybody thinks they know exactly what happened there, opinion probably doesn't count for very much. Which I think is funny because when I saw it on the replay, I was like, it's his wristband. You know what I mean? So, yeah. When I looked at it on the video, I did know that Chris Rogers said, like, I don't know where else the ball could have gone, and I didn't know what that meant when I heard it in my ears. And then when I saw the replay, I knew what he meant because the moment the ball actually contacts his arm, that part of his body, the only thing in between that and the ball is the wristband. The ball cannot, the wristband can't disappear, to put it in football terms. So it seemed to me to be a fair enough decision, as much as it was a frustrating run from a close game perspective.
Yeah, and also Man City were awarded a penalty, so it really was a big decision. But that's just the nature of the sport, I suppose.
He can't disappear.
Or as I call them, Pen City.
Yes.
At the empty had.
Nice.
Pakistan were in many regards like this is obviously the thing that we're afforded now. We can be really complimentary about Pakistan's brave efforts.
Oh, yeah.
Hamza's fantastic. Salman, just a fantastic gritty innings. Rizwan's world class. Babar Azam back in the runs, terrific. Shaheen back in the wickets, all good. But those things actually are all true. Pakistan, whilst I still think they lost the game, they were fucking good. Like they played well, and that sounds extremely condescending.
And it is.
And I don't know. And it is. So I don't know how to walk and chew gum with that because I guess we can hope that it's a good deck at the SCG and that there's similar risk conditions, but the SCG has been the worst deck in the country for 6 or 7 years.
Yep.
So I don't know what to make of it, but it's a farewell for David Warner. So that's something.
They need to hire Matt Page because his turnaround efforts with the MCG have just been remarkable.
Yep.
Him and that team. That was a great cricket wicket. I know you mentioned it earlier, and you're exactly right about the SCG. If the SCG was a number 5 batsman in 4th grade, put it this way, there'd be a lot of pressure on this bloke because it's been fucking shit. And that's our home ground. I'd love to turn up and start waxing lyrical about bull eye soil and that sort of nonsense. But the reality is, it's been low, slow, turgid, dead. Great for making big scores and failing to take wickets, and with little life. So I hope, and I think they had a really difficult. I think the last first class game there was an abject deck, so a lot of pressure on this bloke, gotta say. But I was hoping that you would try and earnestly say some nice things about Pakistan to see if you could actually do that without sounding condescending, but I'm not sure, given the context of our show, that either of us could do that without saying, oh, okay, no need to pat them on the head,
See, like I can't. I want to give them their flowers, but like, and anti-flower. But like, it's just hard to say that when, like, the team that you like has won the game and they've won a close game and you're just celebrating the team and stuff, and it's always nice to see them in your home country and times you can watch it, etc., etc. So like, when I think about, geez, Hamza was good and stuff, and it's like, yeah, all good, you lost, So it's like, I struggle to do it. It's obviously great news for the boys, Pezza, in that they have the weekend free for golf. It's probably therefore going to be the exact same team again, which is going to upset people because whilst they will run close in this game, I think every single player has contributed in some capacity. So once again, I think we're just looking at probably the best team we're going to see for 15 or 20 years. But how do we get Bear back into it, mate? How do we get Scotty Boland into it? How do we get Jimmy Pearson in? Unfortunately, the winning, settled nature of the side means we don't get
trappings and novelties. We don't get itches that we'd like to scratch, a new toy to play with, and dismember, pull its little wings off and see if it can fly, or pull one wing off and see if an animal can fly with one wing, or if it just goes around in circles. You know what I mean?
That's fucked up.
We can't do that because they're winning all the time.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna have to make do with this team that wins and still manages to frustrate a lot of people, because that's our right as Australians to never really be satisfied.
Well, suck it up, Australia. That's just how it's going to be. I hope you've had the most wonderful 2023. I hope 2024 is even better, and I hope your New Year's Eve is a fucking belter. New Year's Day is when Pezza and I are going to be recording our next main podcast, available on all platforms. However you're consuming this, indeed. That's when we'll be doing that. And a final thing, if you are wondering at all about the live shows, we have sold out every single ticket in every city we're performing at this summer. So the Enmore is next in Sydney on January 2. We are so looking forward to seeing 1,600 of you people at our biggest ever live show before we go to Brisbane the next day, the Princess Theatre, and then we are at the Freo Social Club over there in Perth the following night for 3 in a row, Pezza. So we'll see you guys on the internet for our main podcast, New Year's Day. Have a fucking great New Year's Eve. See you guys later. Cheers.